Prime Minister David Cameron, now, I must say, and we have a lot of wonderful fans in Britain, that Britain is on a steep decline right now. And it's very sad. And yet, it gives us here in this country an opportunity to study what they've done and make sure we don't do it. Problem is, that's not what's happening. But in any event, David Cameron, cut 5, go.
But what we're facing in Iraq now with ISIL is a greater and deeper threat to our security than we have known before. Now, people are rightly concerned about so-called foreign fighters who've travelled from Britain to Syria and Iraq, taken part in terrorist acts, and now come back to threaten our security here at home. And the scale of this threat is growing.
It is for them. I read somewhere, wish I remembered where, but it was fairly authoritative, that 10% of Britain is now Muslim. And the most popular name there is Muhammad, of those newly born. Yes, that's a problem. Yes, people are not assimilating. People come into countries, Western European countries, the United States, Canada, other countries, and many of them seek to impose their culture on our culture. That's a disaster. Absolute disaster. If their culture was so magnificent, there's no reason to come here. But it's not magnificent. I said before, some cultures are better than others. Our culture is better than most. But our culture is good for we the people in the United States. We don't want to import other cultures. Or we don't mind some diversity, obviously. That's not my point. I'm talking about superimposing on our culture some foreign culture. You don't see Americans, for the most part, escaping to other countries, the third world country, the Middle East, you name it. You see people from those countries coming here. That's a fact. It's not an opinion. But he said more, and something more important. Cut 6, go.
Britain is an open, tolerant, and free nation. We are a country that backs people in every community who want to work hard, make a contribution, and build a life for themselves and their families. But we cannot stand by and allow our openness to be confused with a tolerance of extremism, or one that encourages different cultures to live separate lives and allows people to behave in ways that run completely counter to our values. Adhering to British values is not an option or a choice. It is a duty for those who live in these islands. And in the end, it is only by standing up for these values that we will defeat this extremism, protect our way of life, and keep all our people safe.
You will never hear those words cross Barack Obama's lips. Instead, over the years, we've heard Obama talk about that our country's no better than anybody else's, our people are no better than anybody else's, our culture, you name it. When a president has that view of his own country, his own people, his own society, it's a disaster. And unfortunately, it is a majority view within the Democrat Party who nominated him and from whom he selects his advisors and consultants. It's a fact. You will never hear these words cross Barack Obama's lips, and yet truer words have never been spoken. Adhering to British values is not an option or a choice. Would you hear Obama say that about American values? He says it's a duty for those who live in these islands. Would you hear Obama say it's a duty for those who live in America in our territories? And in the end, it is only by standing up for these values that we will defeat this extremism, protect our way of life, and keep all our people safe. He's talking about the Islamo-Nazis. How many members of the Muslim Brotherhood have been at 10 Downing Street, I want to know? How many individuals who are associated with a Hamas-type group like CARE in Great Britain have had free reign in the British bureaucracy? I'm curious. I made a suggestion yesterday, and I want to reiterate it today, and I really want it to catch on and become law. And that will require, your attention. I believe when an American citizen leaves this country and joins a foreign army or foreign fighting force that is an enemy of this country, that they should automatically lose their citizenship by their own actions. That if they wish to challenge it, they are not permitted to come into our civilian court system and seek judicial review because they have joined a war element, a foreign army or a foreign fighting force against us, we the people. They can seek to get their citizenship back and prove their innocence in front of a military tribunal set up for this exact purpose, holding court at Guantanamo Bay. They are not to step foot in the United States. What's wrong with this proposal of mine? People should not be able to shuffle in and out of the United States, fighting against us one day and amongst us the next day. The job here is to secure the homeland. The job here is to preserve what's left of the republic. The job here is to keep our families, our communities, our neighborhoods safe. That's the job. When will a member of Congress introduce what I suggest here? It's common sense. It's self-defense. You leave our shores and you join an enemy army or an enemy fighting force, that's it. And if you wish to get your citizenship back, you have to demonstrate that you deserve it. In this country, citizenship has become cheap. People steal across our border, many of whom come here not because they love the country, because they want something from us, benefits or more. We know this to be true because there's special interest front groups in this country, and the Democrat Party and our court system ensure that if they come into this country illegally, the welfare state will be open to them. Well, why should that be? Shut the welfare state to them, and then let's see how many people come into this country. But that'll never happen either, because we are a country in decline as well. And some of us, the vast majority of you, my beloved listeners, are resisting it, are frustrated. I'm going to play this second clip one last time of David Cameron, so you could know what it would be like if we had a president who actually loved this country and didn't want to fundamentally transform it. And as I've said 1,000 times before, and I'll say it again, I don't care who records it and repeats it to try and use it against me. If you love something, you're not fundamentally transforming it. You're not mutating it. You're not fundamentally transforming your wife or your girlfriend or your children. If you fundamentally transform your home, that means you're remodeling it because you don't like it. If you're fundamentally transforming America, you don't love her. If they think the founding fathers were nothing but slave owners, you don't love the country. If you spend your days and nights scheming on how to evade the Constitution, you don't love the country. If you seek to impose your ideology on the American people, when the American people don't want it, you don't love your country. David Cameron, who obviously loves his country. Cut 6, go.
Britain is an open, tolerant and free nation. We are a country that backs people in every community who want to work hard, make a contribution and build a life for themselves and their families. But we cannot stand by and allow our openness to be confused with a tolerance of extremism, or one that encourages different cultures to live separate lives and allows people to behave in ways that run completely counter to our values. Adhering to British values is not an option or a choice. It is a duty for those who live in these islands. And in the end, it is only by standing up for these values that we will defeat this extremism, protect our way of life, and keep all our people safe.